Algorand's ALGO token is in a very interesting position. I'm going to be taking a look today at the kind of daily and weekly timeframes, plotting out some macro scenarios for the price action. This is going to be quite a phenomenal video because I think there's some insights here that people maybe are not paying attention to, because Algorand's had a very volatile time over the last few years, and there's some interesting things that we can look at and potentially forecast for Algo. So as I get into today's video, smash that like button if you're new, subscribe, and let's jump right down into it. We're going to kick things off on this daily time frame. Now, this is Algorand paired up with USDT, one-day Binance chart. And, well, we can see some pretty phenomenal things. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can find this on the Bitstamp side of things, because Bitstamp typically has more data. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what was available on Bitstamp. We have 2021, so we don't. That's a little bit unfortunate. I was hoping there would be more data, but there isn't. So we'll go back to the USDT pairing. So Algorand USDT, one-day Binance chart. And one of the things that's quite interesting that stands out to me is the structures that we have seen over the years. A lot of people kind of speculate at the potential based on some of the fundamental side, but they don't take into consideration the participants. And that's kind of where Elliott wave theory sits in. It's how you kind of take a look at the market, the price action. And when I look at a chart like this, what I'm really looking at is the behavior of people buying and selling. And Algorand has had a very aggressive selling environment. That's probably the best way of articulating it. It's been very aggressive on the selling side. Okay, and this kind of happened as we kind of peaked out up here in 2021, right? If I go ahead and take a look at snapping this price on here, if we take this down to our current bear market low point, which is quite aggressively low for Algorand, and I'm going to talk about that in a second, you can see that this is a 97.26% drop for Algorand, right? It's very, very, very aggressive. Now, that in itself is a very interesting thing, because this move down to this low of 8.2 cents was lower than the crash that we had during the pandemic. That crash in the pandemic only took Algorand down to 9.58 cents. That means that actually everything that we have seen for Algorand in this particular chart, even in that bullish market that we had in 2021, was just corrective. And what I mean by that is its behavior is a WXY pattern. Now, why is that important? That's really important for a couple of reasons, because that means that we're resetting ourselves for the next bull market. And in that next bull market, we are not going to be limited by the history of Algorand. And that's quite an important thing, because if I was to take a look at this and say, okay, well, we've had kind of a mediocre push to the upside, and one of the things that we would have been hoping for here was to kind of say maybe we're in a bullish case and this was just an A wave to the upside, this was a B wave to the downside, and we're going to rally up into new all-time highs, right? We've looked at this scenario in the past, but there is, of course, this move to the downside, breaking lower than the previous low, and that means that we're in a corrective move to the downside. So that means we've got a big reset here on our hands, ready for the next surge to the upside. And, well, how high can that go? Well, it's kind of almost limited, because we don't have any real history to kind of predict out where that goes. So depending on the developments, depending on the kind of fundamental side, Algorand could be very well positioned to do some phenomenal things. And we've seen this time and time again. A lot of people kind of see that some of these projects are completely dead and they're done and then no one's going to go near them again. And then all of a sudden, you know, they erupt. I mean, there's some clear examples of Aurora on Near protocol, for example, which completely looked like a ski slope. In fact, let me go ahead and show you for the purpose of today's video. It looked like this, okay? Phenomenal slide to the downside, right? All of this move in 2022, significant slippage. If we actually take a look at that price movement, we were 96.8% down. And then all of a sudden it woke up. And what did it do? It did a phenomenal surge, taking itself from down here at 0.47 cents up to this 73.5 cents, a 1,463% surge to the upside. So when it comes to Algorand, right, and the potential here for Algorand, we have to kind of consider that it could do something phenomenal and completely unexpected, because we don't have any history really to kind of say it's going to be repeating itself, it's going to be doing X, Y, and Z based on WXY. Ultimately here, we have a clean slate for ALGORAND, and that is a very exciting thing to see. So have we got anything here that kind of says we're in a pretty decent position? Well, this particular structure is interesting to me for a couple of reasons. This looks like we could potentially see a contracting diagonal right at the very beginning. Okay, it's a bit of a long shot, but it's something that is still technically possible, so it's worth keeping an eye on it. And that sits right inside here. If I go ahead and just kind of loosely draw that on because it's snapping, it is a bit of a problem right now. As you can see that this kind of contracts in. This could be a contracting diagonal, basically meaning that this is a wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, 4, and 5. And that is a reversal pattern from our lows down here at 8.2 cents. Now, if this is the case and we see that explosive move like we saw with maybe something like Aurora, we could potentially see that this market could, dramatically increase on its previous cycles, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at this retracement and does it fall in line? And the answer is yes. Typically, you see a wave 2 come down in between 50 and 88.2%. That is that range right there. And you can see that we've wicked down right into that low side of this range. So to me, this looks like we are on the cusp of a potential break to the upside. That move to the upside, I can be a little bit clever on and try to forecast out, but there isn't really a lot of data to kind of go on because we're completely starting again essentially. But if we take a look at the existing low down here and put our Fibonacci on it, well, we could see that there is the potential here for 89.39 to get us to a 1.618. That means this is a wave 1, this is a wave 2, this becomes a wave 3, small bounce up into 5, and we're straightway back up to the 2021 highs. But the problem here, I say problem, well, the exciting part here is that if we do this, there would be a 3-wave correction and an additional 5-wave break to the upside, where a new all-time high could potentially be on the horizon for ALGORAND. And that could be very, very phenomenal. Okay, so there's a bit of a path here that we could potentially see. Now, obviously, this is just speculation because we haven't got to that point where we have that kind of data available. My kind of purpose of this video is to kind of highlight that a drop by 97.26% isn't necessarily the end of the world. We've seen projects do phenomenally well after seeing this kind of retracement. This presents itself right now with a huge dollar cost averaging opportunity. At the point of recording, we're hovering on 12 cents. And most recently, we saw that move to the downside, tapping on 9.5 cents. Ultimately, we're in a great place for dollar cost averaging, building out those positions for what potentially happens next. And I do believe that ALGORAND is well positioned to take advantage of these kind of moves in the space. Okay, so if I roll this up into a weekly time frame, you can really kind of take into consideration the kind of scale of what potentially could unfold. I would expect ALGORAND to be one of the projects that potentially can go after a new all-time high, at least based on this USDT pairing, well in excess of $3.44. And that would be a very exciting time considering the current price. That would be about a 2,500 or 2,600%. If you take the bear market low point, when we're talking about over 4,000%, which is not to be sniffed at. That's a significant surge to the upside. But like I say, we may even outperform that. We may even do better than that going further forward as well. There's a lot of potential here for ALGORAND from a technical analysis standpoint. From a fundamental standpoint, from a marketing standpoint, maybe there's some work to be done there. Maybe there's a better marketing strategy for ALGORAND. But from a technical standpoint, I think ALGORAND might actually start to attract a lot more traders, and that could basically see ALGORAND's price imbalance between the supply and the demand and see a significant surge to the upside. Let me know what your thoughts are on all of this in the comments below. Where do you sit with ALGORAND? Do you agree? Do you disagree? How high do you think ALGORAND could go in 2025? Let me know in the comments below or join us in our free Discord server linked in the description. And guys, check out my second channel just over here where I go through the Cardano technical analysis. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you've enjoyed today's video. And I'll catch you all in the next one.